Are you tired of your wardrobe consisting of plain, boring, nondescript t-shirts? Is your sense of fashion so out of whack you don't know what cool clothes are anymore? Do you want to rep your local sports team but you don't know where to buy t-shirts? Then the DNVR Black Friday sale might just be for you. We've got red shirts, blue shirts, old shirts, new shirts, two shirts. We've got shirts that aren't shirts. We've got entirely too many shirts. So head to the link above and get 30% off everything in the DNVR All Network store with some shirts up to 90% off this Black Friday weekend. Warning, although DNVR shirts are cool, they may not improve your sense of fashion. And if you wear your shirts on your pants or you wear a hoodie backwards, DNVR is not responsible for what happens.
Welcome in to the DNVR Avalanche pregame show, live from this studio. We got J-Mike, we got Rudo coming to you. The Avs are taking on the Montreal Canadiens for the first time in a while. They're trying to bounce back off of a loss, even if it was an overtime loss. They still do have their 15-game point streak, which is quite impressive. And we're set up for a sludge game. This is their third game in 4 nights for both teams, so we might see some empty gas tanks. Put it to you that way. But 2 pretty good teams. Still expecting a decent game. J-Mike, can the Avs bounce back?
I hope so. I'm trying to bounce back myself. The post-Thanksgiving malaise is a real deal.
Moving slowly around here for sure.
Not the most optimal time to have 4 games to cover in a 24-hour period for me.
Yeah, you trying to cover 3 games in the same hour yesterday. That was
I'm testing my eye vision. I feel like looking at all the screens like one of those memes.
Chameleon.
Yeah. Been weird with these matinee games though, and I am interested to see what is the energy level like from the Avs in this type of setting.
Yeah, you certainly want to see the team come out hot after a loss and kind of make a statement in that regard. But I think the reality is you're probably in for a bit of I don't want to necessarily say a slower game, but probably a sloppier game. These matinee back-to-back type stuffs can absolutely turn into shootouts, and you can play a high-octane game, but it's probably going to be more about making the best of your opportunities than it is the actual execution of the plays.
That makes sense. I think, the week of Thanksgiving in college basketball, it's feast week. They have these mid-season tournaments.
Yep.
In CSU yesterday, they're playing their 3rd game in 3 days, and you see it. It's a different game from what you see early on in the tournament.
Yeah.
And 3 games in 4 days just kind of feels like you're in a similar spot.
Yep.
Can you get just enough done? Can you pick your spots, get a couple of good opportunities on goal, and probably more importantly, don't beat yourself with enough, self-inflicted wounds that it turns into a slot fest the other way, because we know the talent level of this team. Like the Avs, even when they don't bring their A game, they're going to be in it most matchups.
Yeah, of course.
But don't put yourself in a bad spot, unnecessarily.
Well, and we've seen the Avs' offensive execution hasn't been the best over the last stretch of games. Yeah, they're winning these games. San Jose game was fine. They finished well in that one, but getting away with a couple of shutouts that they really essentially won 1-0. It's not like they popped off on the scoreboard. And then the other night getting they managed to eke out that second goal in the 3rd period, but certainly not scoring at the rate you would like to. 2 goals on what ended up being 41 shots if you include overtime. So you would like to certainly see the finishing be a little bit better for Colorado in a game like tonight, just to take that stress off, not have to work that hard throughout the entire game, maybe something like that. But Montreal's no slouch offensively either. This is absolutely a Montreal team that has scored their way out of some of their problems this year. So the balance goes both ways, and you're going to have to find out pretty early. I think a lot of the first period in this game for both teams is going to be figuring out, all right, which guys in our lineup have legs and who can we lean on in a game like this.
Going to be interested to see if Big Val makes the lineup or not.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything.
I was perusing the interwebs. I haven't seen anything official.
So not sure either way just yet. Whether he's in or not, obviously the Avs are going to rely on their top guys. You had McKinnon, Natchez, Makar, Lehkonen. Top line's going to have to show up again tonight. There's no doubt about that. Montreal also a bit on the top heavier side too, with guys like Suzuki, Caulfield, Hudson on the back end for them that they lean on quite a bit. So it'll be an interesting dichotomy here of whether the Avs want to match the, hey, we'll just outscore everything that happens in this game, or if the Avs try to limit Montreal a little bit more. Where
would be the area you would be most concerned about when it comes to the legs, not being there today? Is it more on the defensive side or the offensive side?
Yeah, I think I would put it more on the defensive side just as a whole. Not that the Avs don't need their legs in their offense, but I think there's just a little bit more get up and go in the Avs forward core as far as running those legs night in and night out. We already saw Brent Burns struggle the other night, and his legs are old. Not that he's not a good player, but
it's relatable.
On his best night, the legs are a question mark with him. So in a 3-4, that's going to be an issue. And you run into some guys on that back end where, yeah, obviously Makar's legs are great. Taves' legs are fine. Gerard, I don't really have a problem there either. But between Manson and Burns, and then I think you wonder about the sustainability from Malinsky. Not that he's been bad. He's been really, really good. But what happens when he's playing at that caliber of game, and now you're talking about the third game in 4 nights? Can he continue to look as effective as he has, or is that leg slipping a little bit? Can it make it a little bit tougher for him on a night like tonight, especially on the defensive end? It is a lot harder when you're chasing play, when you're running around in your own zone. That burns your legs out a lot more than the Avs cruising through the neutral zone with their forwards.
Is this one of the advantages of the Avs' current goaltending situation? Like, we've heard so many people talk about it from the standpoint of it being a potential predicament. And obviously there are some challenges of figuring out that balance, but at the same time, this is where it's so nice to have the availability to lean on either of these guys, and both of them coming into these type of games fresh, despite having played 3 and 4.
Yeah, Blackwood gets the go tonight. There's no doubt he should be completely fresh, and he should be a guy that's confident in what he's doing right now. And it's a great shout out that might make a little bit of an easier game for your defense. Not that you want to give up high danger chances or anything like that.
Don't test it.
Right. But certainly if they do make a mistake, they have faith in the guy behind them, regardless of whether it was Wedgwood or Blackwood right now. The Avs arguably have the best tandem in the league between the two of them. Blackwood, sample size is still quite small, but while the Avs as a team lost their shutout streak the other night, Blackwood still has 2 shutouts in a row. So his shutout streak as an individual continues today.
And as a team, you've given up 2 actual goals in 12 periods of hockey, plus the 5-minute OT.
You've played outrageously good defense on the whole. And some of that is quality goaltending from a guy like Blackwood. So you definitely want to see that continue for him. You're going to have to strike that balance of the Avs are going to need Blackwood to make quality plays tonight, but also don't hang him out to dry too much.
Is this a stretch where you'd like to see him maybe get a couple of starts in a row and try and get that just rhythm of the season going?
It's definitely coming. This might be more of a middle of December thing than right now, because the Avs are, yes, this is a 3 and 4, but they're really in the middle of a stretch that ends up being 7 and 12 through the first week of December. So there's a big workload coming that would not surprise me to see Bednar continue to go back and forth between these two until they hit it's like a 3-day break the second week of December, I think they have. And then, yeah, at a certain point, you're going to have to start playing Blackwood more.
It's a tongue twister.
I guess. It probably shouldn't be, but
I apologize if you've touched on this in the last couple of days, because I've been so consumed on the CSU side of things.
New coach and all.
But I did see a clip that went viral of, I'm not sure if it was Chicklets or if it was just the TNT stuff, but it was Bizanetti basically saying, why couldn't you just alternate those 2 goalies back and forth throughout the entire postseason? Is that a crazy concept? It feels like one of those things that's nice in theory, but not, I don't know.
I'm not saying it can't work. I'm not saying you can't do it, but historically, playoff tandems don't win.
Why do you think that is?
A lot of the times you end up in a specific situation that is really hard, more so coaching yourself into a corner than necessarily making the right decisions, because you have a tandem, right? And you go back and forth. One of them has a bad game. You play the other one.
What if he has a bad game?
He has a bad game, especially if you're talking about a goalie who gets pulled in one of those games. Now you have to make a decision between, all right, which goalie do I give the start? And if I give a goalie a second start in a row because I don't trust the other one, now you've lost confidence in that goalie and it's going to be hard to get him in. If the other one has a bad game, then now you have to make a decision of, do I go back on that and put this other goalie in that I've already discounted? You put him in, does that crush the confidence of what was going to be your starter then? It just ends up with a lot of these complicated conversations that it's hard to get the most out of your goaltenders, I think. So I do believe it's better to have a true starter as far as a playoff run is concerned, but it doesn't have to be. I mean, it wasn't really a starter tandems thing for the Avs Cup run, but Francouz ended up being 6-0 in that Cup run.
Yeah, and I think some of that was the injured, was the eye or whatever. But
of course.
Yeah,
but
I don't know. I just want to get your perspective on that. It makes sense though. It's sounds like it's largely in the same vein of why I'm anti 2 quarterback systems in football.
Basically.
It's just like you have to give guys the ability to recover from their mistakes from a rhythm standpoint. It can get wonky, and then again, when things go wrong, then what?
Right. And you have a backup like Scott Wedgwood, and he probably is very used to and has no problems with a every other day routine missing games. But a guy who's been a starter for a decent portion of his career, like a Blackwood, is going to be used to that repetition of, if he has a bad game, he gets to shake it off by going out there and doing it again. Mm-hmm. So I'm not a scientist, I'm not a genius coach or anything. I'm not saying it can't work. It probably can, but historically it's not been great. Even look at those great Boston teams in the early 2020s that the goaltending just fell apart in the playoffs for them. Doesn't work sometimes.
That's why you're the expert, man.
I'm not that much of an expert, but I do okay. It is interesting with the Avs though, because not so much playoffs, but you are getting to that point in the regular season where what does a stable lineup look like for Colorado? Mm-hmm. Not just the Blackwood-Wedgwood conversation, though, that is part of it, but who are your second liners? Who are your third liners? And some of that is the injuries. Val Nichushkin being out is not anything you can do about, but is Gabe Landeskog really a top 6 player for you, or is he more of a third liner? What are you doing with Ross Colton in the middle 6 of your lineup? How do you make a lineup work with a Gavin Brindley? Or what happens when you get Logan O'Connor back in the lineup? Where does everyone slot in? I know it's easy to look on paper and say, oh, well, you can do this or you can do that. And there's these things in the past that have worked. That's all great. But then you actually get out in the games and you have to figure out what works for you this season. And some of that is out of the Avs' control, but it does feel like it's starting to get into the time of the year where it's like, all right, you should know what to expect up and down the lineup for Colorado.
Ideally, right? I mean, your depth is always going to get tested with injuries.
Of course.
But it's not like you're in a position where it's a revolving door right now across the lineup. No. You should be getting, Val back, probably maybe not today, but
within a week, I would guess.
The near future.
Yeah. So
want to figure out what is this, especially the top 3 lines. I feel like just what are you going to look like on a night to night?
Right. And again, everything with these lineups starts with the top of it. Like if your McKinnon, Natchez, Lehkonen line isn't working very well and you have to change things up, it's going to ruin everything. Ruin's a strong word. You're going to have to adapt everything to fix that first. But for the most part, you trust that first line to be good. And then it really comes down to the centers to me. You need the centers to be the key on every line for the Avs. Nelson has done a pretty good job of that with your second line lately. I don't think you have very many complaints there, even if you would like just a touch more production. Jack Drury and the third line has really not been all that effective since a couple of these injuries.
I was going to say, for a while, we were, really raving over that third line. And obviously the injuries have shaken some things up, but it feels like they've been pretty quiet of late.
Yeah, they have. You certainly want a little bit more production there. Olofsson has gone a little bit quiet. Drury's production has always been a touch on the low side, which you've lived with because of good possession numbers and quality defensive play that haven't been there for the last couple of games. that other spot on the wing has been a rotating cast of guys, whether it's Landeskog, whether it's Colton. Right now it's been Parker Kelly, which it's a tough ask. Guys moving up in the lineup like that. Parker Kelly is not a guy you're asking to play a lot of offense for this team. So I don't think it's a huge surprise that we've seen the offense dip there, but you're starting to get far enough into this where it's like, all right, let's get the gears turning. Let's start seeing some real points get produced by that line so you can rely on that Avs quality depth that we've seen all year. And then the fourth line, I don't know. It's that one I have less of a problem with because it's just the rest of the guys you have in your lineup.
It's just kind of like the other guy. I mean, is there anybody on the fourth line you could see potentially coming up if you're not getting more consistency out of that third line here?
I just don't know how you can right now. Once you get LOC back, it becomes more of a conversation, but Bartikov's a center, so he has to stay in the middle, and you're not really messing with that. Your centers are pretty locked into the positions they're in. Ivan hasn't done enough as the call-up guy to really move up your lineup at all, and who knows what else you're getting out of that line on any given night. It's they might not even play 6 minutes, so there's just not a ton of room for upward movement in the way we saw from someone like Brindley earlier in the year.
I think it's an astute comment we have here in the Toyota chat from Benny, I think. Nuke fills in so many things on this team.
He does.
And I feel like between not having him out there and then, you lost a guy who was also kind of becoming a similar glue, not the impact of Nichushkin, but I feel like Brindley was just doing a lot of little things.
Yeah.
And not having both of those guys out there, you've kind of felt that, especially with some of the neutral zone stuff. And I don't know, I love what Nichushkin brings to the table defensively, especially.
Well, I think it's interesting too, because in those guys' absence, you see who steps up and started doing those little things. And the big standout for me there is Gabe Landeskog, which doesn't surprise anybody, but that is a guy who the DNVR Avs Discord often refers to those players as the worker bees, right? Mm-hmm. They put their head down and they go to work every single day. And I do think the Avs are missing a little bit of that without Nichushkin, without Gavin Brindley. Landeskog has stepped up a lot in that role. I think Ross Colton has done a lot of that well too. But then you're kind of missing those pieces a little bit as you get further down your depth. Not that Victor Olofsson isn't a good player and hasn't been great for the Avs, but that's not the type of role that he plays.
That's what I mean. Like, I just feel like once you get, you have Nichushkin out there and hopefully Brindley back in the picture down the line and LOC, like that's just a lot of worker bee type mindset.
Exactly. And it's a balance, right? Parker Kelly's a great worker bee, but the worker bee skill set he has is hard work. You wish there was a touch more actual skill there. That a player like a Nichushkin, even a player like Brindley, hits the minimum skill floor and then is also a worker bee on top of that makes the Avs so difficult to beat. And you just have one too many guys that you wish were that 2% more skilled than they are in the role that they're currently in. When you move them back down the lineup, they fit in great. Everything clicks. We've seen the Avs body teams, but you've kind of established ceilings for guys, I would say, over the past couple of games. And now you can work with those ceilings.
It is funny to me across sports when you see a scenario like this where you have to have a little bit of shuffle and rotation, responsibilities start getting divvied up, trying to account for who's not currently out there.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you see a situation where things look a little bit sluggish and the fans just immediately, oh, it's broken. We got to fix it. No, like we know what is going to work. Can they figure out how to adjust on the fly here? And in some ways, dealing with this type of stuff in November and December, it's not the worst time to have to kind of figure some of this stuff out. You don't want to just cruise for 5 straight months and pull a Boston Bruins and get swept in the first round.
You need some adversity. Not that I do think the Avs had faced adversity even in their wins, but you learn a lot more about yourself in losses than wins. And I love your point about the Avs lost. It doesn't mean you need to pop the hood and redo the whole engine. Like if you have a cylinder that's maybe popping a little bit, you don't
if they lose multiple regulation games in a row, I'll give you a little bit of validity on maybe try something. But up until that point, let's pump the brakes a little bit.
And
even then,
lose a regulation game in November before we really start doing it. But one loss is like, it's cold in Colorado finally. Maybe you need to go pop the hood and put some starter spray on your engine because it's a little not turning over or something. Do that before you pop the hood and say, let's take the transmission out. Let's
check the fluids first.
Right. Like, one step at a time when it comes to fixing
some
things.
of those, dashboard indicators aren't that big of a deal.
Right.
They look far scarier than they are.
Exactly. The one that tells me my tires are low tire pressure.
Dude, I got a little bit later of a start coming from up north this morning, and I went out to my car and I was like, it's going to be one of those days. I'm going to have a tire pressure and I'm going to go to Discount Tire and it's going to be a 17-person line. I'm going to be late for the pregame show. Get your tires checked, y'all. It's the season.
The last place I got my tires checked disconnected my tire pressure thing. So it's just constantly tells me that they're low now, even if I just like fill them with air. Yeah, great. Don't need that in my life. That's the Avs power play right now, is that light is just eternally on. But look, I think the Avs are in a fine spot with this. You look at what Landy did, and they still understand how to thrive in the chaos and create a little bit of magic, even if it is not perfect, even if everyone isn't necessarily slotted into where they need to be. This team is gritty enough, is talented enough that you just can never count them out. Like, they still haven't lost a game by more than one goal this year. Like, they find ways to get points. They find ways to get wins. It's really impressive, and a regulation loss will come eventually. I don't think it's going to be tonight. I really don't.
Is that just gut feeling? Is that based on what they showed against Minnesota? I mean, you mentioned when we were kind of talking pregame that Minnesota played that game like it was game 7 of the Stanley Cup.
They were 110% effort the entire game, really pushing. And you can go both ways about that. You can say, hey, that's the best Minnesota can play, and the Avs took them to a shootout and, maybe deserved better at times in that game. The other side of it is you would like the Avs to match that effort, right? You want them to be better than the team that puts out there against them. And at times, I think, especially in that second period, they came up a little bit short. They haven't done a lot of that 2 games in a row this year. You've seen them respond to, maybe we didn't play as well as we needed to, and they usually come out and play a lot better.
Especially at home.
Yeah. Home, they have been very, 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 very scary this year. But you look at, I think we have our stat pack here that I actually want to bring up, which is part of the reason I have confidence in a night like tonight. Are the Avs playing a little bit above their head here? Maybe. Is it?
I mean, not having one regulation loss going into December.
That's not normal.
Yeah.
So, fine. Understandable. But when you look at their process compared to pretty much any team in the league, it's hard not to say that they're the best process team in the NHL. And a team like Montreal isn't even a good process team. At 5-on-5, they regularly get their heads kicked in. They're just surviving off of the best shooting percentage in the league. So they have lethal finishers. But that's about the end of the list for that team. If you cannot give their high-end shooters room to make the plays, Montreal is going to have a hard time beating you. And there's 2 specifics there. One, Montreal is barely even a net positive team at even strength. They are skating by, whereas the Avs are the most dominant even strength team in the NHL by a mile. But the other thing here, Montreal takes some of the most penalties in the NHL. And we're watching an Avs team that hasn't consistently enough gotten the power play that they've needed. You got to have it tonight. You're going to get opportunities. You got to have the power play. Your legs are going to die. Their legs are going to die in this game. So if you fail to capitalize on those opportunities, it's going to hurt you. I really do think the Avs need the power play, but certainly at 5-on-5, there's no reason not to love the Avs' chances.
I mean, look at the goal differential alone.
Yeah, it's outrageous. I mean, the Avs are just doing silly numbers with the goal differential. It's come down a little bit now, but a couple days ago, the Avs goal differential was only 2 worse than the entire Eastern Conference combined. So
that's absurd.
Pretty good.
Will Net just keep the home point streak going?
I hope so. I think they need more out of him a little bit. He's had some okay games. He's racked up some points, but he hasn't really had those loud plays that he was having at the start of the year. You would love to see him put one in the back of the net. your top line's fine. I'm not sitting here being like, oh my God, Natchez is messing it. No, but a finish for him would go a long way in making the Avs' life easier, because with these tired leg games, you just do not want to be chasing. You make your life so much more difficult having to exert the effort of a comeback in a third game in 4 nights. No, Natchez has had a knack for scoring early goals this year.
Yeah, I mean, he's had what, like 3 in the first minute of the game?
It's crazy. I don't know about getting another one that early, but you would love to see some spark from that line early, running through Natchez specifically.
I don't even know if you can bet such a thing, but I wonder what the juice would be on that.
God, yeah.
Just to score within the first 60 seconds of regulation.
Get a big plus on that one for sure. I don't know if that's on the table, but it might be. We can take a look at that. Before we do, though, let's get our crystal ball out. Yeah, look into the future. Find what we can. J. Mike, you got a score and you got a name for me?
I'm going 4-1. And I'm going to say we get a Cale Makar goal.
Ooh, I like that choice. I also picked a Cale Makar goal, for the record. If I had to pick someone else, I'd go with Natchez, if we're making me pick. Don't mind the score line either. I'm hoping for actually a little bit of a lower scoring one. I would like to see the Avs grind one out and really limit Montreal more than anything. So I'll say 3-1. I'll undercut you a little bit on that one. But if it's 8-7, I won't complain as long as it's the Avs that have the 8. So they are going to have to overcome the Quebec Nordiques jerseys also.
They look so pretty, but they struggle a little bit in them.
They feel a little cursed, but you know, maybe this is like
it's early in the process.
A cleansing ritual to do it against the other Quebec team tonight.
There we go. I like it. This is going to be like a little offering to the hockey gods.
I'm down. I'll do whatever. I'm not the superstitious guy, but if it works, it works. Got a 5-1 in there. Micah coming in with the 3-2. Plenty of options. Let's get to my pre-game picks presented by Bet365, where, of course, things are never ordinary. Already mentioned the Makar goal. I took it one step further. I said Cale scoring first, plus 1,600. Be a big bet to hit. Not likely, but would be a big bet to hit. I mentioned my grindiness. I took the under on this one, and some of that is relying on Mackenzie Blackwood, who I took the over on saves. You can obviously make any storyline you want to on any given night, but I do think the Blackwood storyline is one that I'm following closely. We've watched him first couple of games of the year. Maybe not that great. Maybe you wanted to see better. And then immediately turn that corner to pitch 2 shutouts in a row. Where's the middle ground? Let's find the middle ground of a quality Blackwood game tonight that isn't just a silly shutout nonsense. Not that he didn't earn those shutouts, but we understand the reality somewhere in the middle. And I'm hoping you get the middle high end from Blackwood in a game like this one. Plenty of other bets to make. Of course, you can always go in. I don't know that there's any Avs on Montreal. You usually go with Alex Duhook, but he broke his ankle a week ago, 2 ago or so. So he's out. So maybe you can avoid the ex-player curse bets on a night like tonight. Whatever you bet on, make sure you do it with Bet365. Use the DNVR 365 code when you sign up. And of course, if you're 21 or older, physically located in Colorado, and you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER today. Winding down the process here, J. Mike, this might be a weird question, and you've obviously been pretty in the weeds with coaching stuff lately with what's going on with CSU. But you cover football, you cover basketball, you cover hockey. Which sport do you think coaching has the most impact in? Because there's a big part of my brain that believes coaching, not that it doesn't matter, but compared to a sport like football, coaches can only do so much in hockey, right?
Yeah, I think football coaching is probably the biggest impact. Baseball is probably the least.
Sure.
But I just think the pace of hockey and basketball makes the coach's impact somewhat minimized. I think you have a game plan. Like, I think your strategic outlook coming in factors in a lot, but
Sure.
I don't know how much you can do in terms of on the fly. Like, I'm going to shake everything up and now all of a sudden it's fixed, you know?
Yeah, I would agree. I wonder where you draw the line with a power play, right? We have the conversation.
With the dilemma all last year. I mean,
yeah,
who's to blame?
I
Is it on the coach or is it on the stubbornness of Mac? Because Eric used to, pound the table for.
Probably some of both is the right answer, as we love to say here. Every answer is both to every question. But
have you liked the process the last couple of games on the power play?
Yeah, it's been better the last couple. But again, the same thing as kind of figuring out the stability of your lineup. This game 25 process is now matters, but results are the thing that reward you.
Yeah.
Power play's got to find results.
You got to score.
You got to.
And you have too much talent not to, is what's maddening about it.
Honestly.
It'd be one thing if you even had just one of the dudes out there, you'd still expect them to score because they're so all individually talented. But the fact that you've got McKinnon and you've got McCarr and you've got all this firepower, Marty,
yep,
it almost defies logic.
It really does. Avs got to find a way to get a couple tonight, or at least one power play goal, as I already mentioned. We are going to wrap up our pregame show because we are about 7 minutes from puck drop here. We appreciate all y'all hanging out. We got Micah coming on for the watch along. Come join us for that. And then post game, Jay, Mike, and I will break it all down for you no matter what happens. So tune in. Let's see if the Avs can start a new winning streak. We appreciate you. This has been the DNVR Avalanche pregame show.
We all silly like the mayor.